Hi everyone, just back here to finish up the chapter 9 work for today, focused on the work of Lev Vygotsky. So on page 47 in your textbook, this figure right here, figure 2.3, the title says the magic middle. Anyway, on page 47, so Lev Vygotsky is a developmental theorist, and he was in Russia developing his theories. Let's see, just taking a quick look, there's a picture of him with his daughter on page 46. Lived in Russia from 1896 to 1934. So he was very interested in sociocultural theory. So his perspective on the development, the cognitive development of children is different from Piaget's perspective. So Piaget almost saw like that development of logic, the pre-operational child shifting to concrete operational child, and thinking as the child ages. So it was almost like a biological sort of perspective or theory that things change based on age. In contrast, Vygotsky was focused very much on social cultural aspects of development, or the influence of society and the influence of culture on the thinking development, the cognitive development for children. So it's called social learning. You can see that here in the slide. And that he thought that all of the cognitive development was embedded in this social context, and the two were really very hand in hand, and that this child is a beginner, or the apprentice is some of the vocabulary that was used in thinking. So he's learning because he's being stimulated by the culture and by the society in which he lives or she lives. So there is a key person here for the child, and that is the mentor. So the mentor could be a variety of different people, but they're people all within the society in which the child is living. So it could be an older sibling, a friend from next door. It could be a caregiver. It could be a teacher. It could be just a neighbor, people that the child knows and has in their life. So these mentors over time might present certain challenges, or different ideas or problems to be solved, and they can help the child sort of look at and evaluate what's going on, and help the child to develop their own thinking and problem solving around what they see. So a mentor would ideally offer a lot of support, but let the child kind of work through things his or herself. So they might provide some very important information that the child might not have. They're motivating, but they don't just take over. So that's hard sometimes, to not just do it for someone, but to just show and demonstrate and support while they explore and learn themselves. But this is what Vygotsky thought was key in social learning. So let me take a look at these. So I'm going to show you Vygotsky, kind of a figure showing his learning. I don't know if they're called stages, but they're, let's see, what does he call them? They're zones. And he has a zone of proximal development, the ZPD, which is quite famous. So I'll show you that in just a moment. But let's look at the slide and for just a second, and then I'll go to the figure. Okay, so guided participation is another extension of that mentorship. So if you're kind of imagining in your mind this person, this mentor guiding the experience and helping the child to explore and therefore develop their cognitive thinking. So the zone of proximal development, I'll show it to you in the figure in a moment, is the place where the child or anyone really can learn a new skill with some help from a mentor, with some guided participation. The zone of proximal development is important because if you're trying to teach someone or guide someone around something they already know, they might not be developing their cognition. And if you're trying to offer development opportunity that's so far beyond that person, that's really out of their ability at that time, then it might not work. So you have to get this sort of sweet spot, the zone of proximal development, so that a person can develop in the way and at the pace that they are able to. So you kind of have to have this sort of mentor and then participant kind of a little bit of a dance going back and forth to find the sweet spot. Scaffolding is an idea where we're giving that support that is specific for that learner's needs and abilities right at that time, and it helps them. It's just giving them the boost that they need. Okay, so I'm going to let's see, go to this. Here we go. This is off of Wikipedia. And you can see the middle, the darkest purple, the learner can do this unaided. So if you're trying to teach in the purple here, the person might become bored, wander off, whatever. They already know how to do that. Then the next layer is that zone of proximal development, where the learner can gain from the help of the mentor by having the guidance, getting the information, maybe a bit of scaffolding, and they can be successful there. But then you see this outside layer where the learner cannot do this yet. This is not kind of where they're at. So it's best not to push them beyond what is something that they can do. So that was part of Vygotsky's theory. I'm going to go back to our slides here for the last slide. Yeah, this is the last one for today. Now the thought is, can you come up with an example for yourself? So in the photo here, there is a woman who is potentially a mentor for this child in learning the skill of playing the piano. So the person is showing music, they're demonstrating where to put fingers, the child is copying that, so hopefully this is the zone of proximal development. So was there a time when you had someone help you learn a new skill? A lot of really great examples fall into like bicycling, or who taught you to ride a bike, or who taught you to go out there and ski, or snowboard, and who taught you all kinds of things, musical instruments, language, etc. So I have an example for myself. This summer I did some watercolor, and I don't do watercolor painting very often, but I was able to find some YouTube videos that helped me in my zone of proximal development. So I had to look for people who could help me do things that I was able to do. So here's one example. I painted this lavender in a pot. So I found a video where the person demonstrated and I was able to follow along. Another time I looked at a different video and I thought, oh, I can do a mountain scape for a gift for someone. And I watched some videos on that and they were so far beyond my ability that I thought, no, that's outside of my zone of proximal development. I'll have to wait a little longer to get to that. So sometimes you got to find that sweet spot, and you can do that for yourself when you're trying to learn a new skill. Okay, so Lev Vygotsky versus Piaget is kind of where you're thinking about things, the sociocultural perspective with Vygotsky, having the mentor, etc., versus Piaget, where he really focused on more biological changes in the development, the cognitive development of the child.